Hey everyone, Rob here from Gunfather Milsim. This is kind of a follow-up video to the tactical light discussion video I did a few weeks ago. And today I'm going to talk about low light tactics. Now, low light tactics is one of those things that lots of people teach classes about it. I'm not an instructor in those classes. Personally, I think a lot of those classes are a waste of money, and this is pretty much stuff that is common sense that if you work in a low light environment long enough using flashlights, you're going to figure it out by trial and error. So like most police officers, I had to start my career working at night, working overnight in the evenings, and carrying a flashlight every day and working with a flashlight and weapon lights. And kind of by trial and error, you pick this stuff up. It's not terribly complicated. First thing when talking about airsoft and night games, I am not a big fan of low light night games. I've done several of them. In my opinion, there's two types of people at those games. There's guys that have night vision and there's targets. Okay. Having said that, they can be a lot of fun. I have trained with night vision, not super extensively, but I've trained with it professionally. I've never been motivated enough to spend $2,500 on my own night vision set to go play airsoft with it and thinking I would always be afraid it would get shot and break or damaged. It's just not my cup of tea. But if you want to do that, more power to you, just not my thing. So I'm going to stick to just talking about how to use flashlights. Now, most guys, when you go to an airsoft game, even ones that aren't at night but they have a lot of indoor dark spaces you got to clear and stuff, they just kind of run with the weapon light and that's it. I always, if I think I'm going to be somewhere where I'm going to need a light on my gun, if it's going to be indoors or at night, I always bring a hand light in addition to your weapon light. Now, I went into great detail in another video about which brands I prefer. And quick advice: make sure you get the right tool for the job regarding not only the lumens that the light puts out, but also the way the beam projects, whether it be a floodlight or a spotlight, whether it really has a really hot, what they call a hot zone, which is where the light's really bright for a small area, and then as it dissipates further out, it's not quite as bright. There's also kind of old school pistol lights. The early surefire ones would be what they call floodlight, where it would just flood the room, but it didn't really have a hot spot. And it wasn't really great for blinding people, but it was really great for seeing every last corner of that room. So my advice to you is if you're going to get a light, try to actually see what the beam does before you buy it. I know Mr. Guns and Gear, on his channel, when he reviews a light, he goes in his backyard and actually shows you how that beam projects and how it lights things up. You want to have the right light for the right job. If you have a light that's not fit for, let's say you're just doing maybe not even room clearing, just something more pragmatic, where it's more of a utility light, such as, I don't know, tying your boots or fixing a gun real quick. If you're trying to use a weapon light for that, or a real bright light, it's going to be kind of frustrating. So you want to kind of have the right light for the job, I guess is what I'm saying. So I always try to carry two lights. I have the weapon mounted light and I have my hand light. Not only is it good to have two lights for different tactics I'm going to explain here in a minute, but it's also nice because if one light goes down, you still have a backup and you can still get things done. Keeping in mind that every time you use your light, you make yourself a target, you want to use your light sparingly. Okay? Anytime you do use your light, use it briefly, see what you got to see, turn it off, and then displace. Do not stay in the same spot you were, because every time you use the light, it's a target, and if someone does want to shoot at you, as they do in airsoft games, those shots are incoming. You have to displace every time you use your light. So you want to use your light sparingly. Additionally, if someone else is using their light to light the thing up that you want to see, let them do it. Don't add more light to see the same thing. If you can sit there in the dark and still see what you got to see using someone else's light, you do that every time. All right. Now, when using light to clear rooms, it's kind of the same concept, but you don't want to keep your light running the entire time that you're clearing the room. You want to use it sparingly. Turn it on, turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, and move from position to position. The reason you don't want to leave your light on all the time is as let's say you're going down a corridor and your light is on constantly, people inside rooms or whatever can use the way that light flows into their room to kind of see where you're at and know that you're coming. You're not going to disguise your presence entirely. They're going to hear you, they're going to know you're there. As soon as they see one light, they're going to, okay, here they come. but there's no reason to give up more information than you have to by leaving your light on the whole time. And once again, just like outside, if you can, after you use your light, displace, move across, move around the room, move to another position. Maybe you're going to light up, you're going down the hallway, you're going to light up on one side of the hallway and then turn it off and then go to the other side of the hallway to continue moving down it. Whatever you can do to not be where that light was last seen. On that note, when you're working in groups, let the guy in front be the guy using the light. The guys in back need to keep their muzzles down and keep their light off. Anytime you're behind people and you use your light, you're going to do what they call backlighting, which basically anybody who's downrange then gets a really clear look at that person's silhouette and they become a big target. It's a big no-no and kind of a dick move in tactical circles. So make sure if you're not in front, leave your light off. Real quick point on strobes. I do not like strobes. Some guys love strobes. I think strobes are kind of a gimmick. I think this light has one if I hold it down. Yeah, it's got a strobe. I never use that feature. It's a pain in the ass. In my opinion, is it disorienting to a target? Absolutely, it's disorienting if you use it on a target. However, in a job where I have to see what I see before I do what I do, I have to see what was in that guy's hand, I have to correctly identify who that person is, making a split second, kind of decision. I don't want to impair my ability to see what's going on with that strobing effect. Because is it hard on the person you're using the strobe on? Yes. Does it also make it difficult for you to see what you're looking at? Yes, it does. In my opinion, it's not worth the trade-off. Some guys love them. Some guys love strobes. More power to them. Next, is there such a thing as too much light? I believe there is. I don't believe we've quite reached that point yet. Generally, kind of 1,000 lumen is the new kind of standard. It used to be 200, more or less, and now 1,000 lumens is the standard. Now, can you blind yourself with 1,000 lumens? Yeah, you can also blind yourself with 200 lumens. So I think it has less to do with kind of, is it too much light, and more maybe having a little more discipline and using some common sense when you use your lights. In my experience, the main room you got to worry about self-blinding on is the bathroom, and because that's obviously there's always mirrors in the bathroom. To a lesser degree bedrooms, but it's usually not that big a deal. In bathrooms, the way you know you're going into a bathroom is you see tile floor. I mean, 99 times out of 100 bathrooms got tile floor. It's also a smaller room. In that case, obviously the mirrors are up high. I typically, if I'm going into a bathroom, I see that tile floor, I put my light on the tile and I let the light reflect and then fill up the room so I can see what's in the room without bringing my light straight across like so. That's just some free advice to kind of avoid self-blinding via the mirrors in the bathroom. Kind of a minor point, but one that will help you out if you're ever clearing rooms and run into a bathroom. Next, I'm going to talk about my favorite low light tactic, and that is using a stationary light to your advantage. Now, like I said earlier, every time you turn on a light, you become a target and you have to displace. So one way to kind of get around that, to get the benefit of having a constant light on a target and constant light in your opponent's eyes and not be in any danger, is you set up a stationary light. I used to do this. There was a place we used to play. It was like a big low light place. It had a huge indoor field that was completely, turn off all the lights, completely dark. And I would go up to a bunker or a barricade. I would turn a light on and I would just set it on that bunker, and then I would move away from it. And then we could see all our targets, and they'd shoot at that light all night long, but there's nobody behind it. It was a huge advantage. We do this in law enforcement all the time for what they call, it's working on something called like a barricade, and there's a barricaded gunman inside a house, and it's not really safe to put a light on because he might shoot at you. You'll move a cruiser up, turn on one of the spotlights on the cruiser, put it on a window, and then get away from that cruiser. And everybody knows to stay away from that cruiser because it's basically a bullet magnet, but it's providing light for everybody else. And therefore everybody else is safer, and they don't have to use their lights, and they can stay behind cover and not give away their position by using their lights. It's just a stationary light technique, and it's one of the main reasons I carry a hand light. Like I said earlier, anytime I'm going to a low light game, I'm going to carry my weapon light and I'm going to carry my hand light. And that's the main reason, is so I can do those stationary light tricks, among other things. real quick tip for when you're moving around back and forth from a low light game, or you're dead and trying to move back to a respawn area or whatever, and you don't want to get shot a lot. Every time you turn your light on, you want to use a dead light. A dead light is typically a red light or a a red glow stick or whatever. You just take it out of your pocket so people know, okay, he's dead, he's not in play. One neat kind of hack, I guess, is you just take your regular dead rag, you wrap it around your light, and you turn it on like that, and it's going to project a red light. Okay, that way you don't have to waste money on glow sticks or have a specific light just for being dead. So once again, another reason to have a hand light. That's just real quick and dirty, kind of some low light tactics. Hope you found some of it useful. And a side note, I finally joined the rest of the world and started a Facebook page for the channel. It's just called Gunfather Milsim. Feel free to follow it. I'll put a link below. And it's just a community where I can kind of share videos and have discussions about airsoft, Milsim, and articles and whatnot. So if you can communicate like an adult, by all means come there and join the conversation. And once again, thanks for watching.